Today, Bezras Hashem, the subject will be about listening to Hashem's calling us. There was once a community in Russia. This is a story I once heard from Rabbi Belsky, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, and he said that he heard this story when he was in camp in America as a teenager, and he always took this lesson in life. So let's share this beautiful story, Bezras Hashem Yisporach. There was this community in Russia, and the soldiers of the Khazar arrived in the town, and they were looking for a building where they can put the soldiers to make an army base. And they walked in one building, another building, and then they walked into the shul, and they said, "This is perfect to make our army base over here in this building. You have 30 days to leave the building." The Yidden heard this. They made an asifa, they made a meeting. The Rabbonim, the Askonim got together to discuss what they should do. And one man had an idea, maybe he has protectia by one of the mishpucha of the Khazar, and you can send him to speak to the Khazar to be able to find another building to make as a base for the army. Another man said, maybe we should we should make a collection of money and send a shoichat to the Khazar. But one man started to laugh. And they asked him, "Why are you laughing? This is very serious. What are we going to do without a shul, without a building?" He said, "Don't you understand? Have you not seen our shul, how it looks lately? Have you not seen the leak that's leaking on the ceiling? And the wind, the broken windows, and the ice wind blows into the shul. These soldiers are just going to come for a few days, maximum, and then they're going to leave. Who can live in such a building? It's run down." Said the Rav, said the holy Rav. "Now I understand why they're taking away from us our shul. Now I understand why the Ribono Shel Olam brought us this gezeira, that we have to, they're going to take our shul away from us. Because we never looked after, we never appreciated the shul that we had. And if we were to appreciate it, if we would look at the shul as the most precious building in our community, then Hashem wouldn't have sent us this terrible gezeira that they're confiscating our shul. So what we're going to now do for the next 30 days, said the Rav, is we're going to redecorate the shul, we're going to fix the leaks, we're going to install new windows. We're going to make the shul the most beautiful building of our community. And then you will see that the soldiers will not take our shul. Hashem won't allow them. And that's what happened. 30 days they worked and redecorated the shul. It was the most beautiful building. It was so beautiful. In 30 days they changed it around. A total turnover. And then the soldier entered. The general came in and had a look, says, no, you can keep your shul, we'll find another building. And said the holy Rav Belsky, from then on I always realized that when there's a gezeira neged the community, it's because we have to look. Are we treating this mitzvah as the most precious thing? And if we are maybe neglecting the mitzvah, then it's a message from Hashem that we have to improve this mitzvah. And therefore this is the inyan a Yid lives. Vayikra el Moshe. Says Rashi, Moshe Rabbeinu is always Vayikra, Hashem is calling him. By the Rishoim, it's Vayokor. Vayokor means coincidence. He happens to speak to me. Vayokor, he happens. It's mikre, coincidence. But Vayikra Hashem el Moshe, by the tzaddikim, it's Hashem always calling me. And Hashem, they're sending me a message. Why are they taking away our shul? What's happening? What do we do to deserve this terrible decree? And then they're able to improve. They're always listening out. The Ribono Shel Olam. What's he calling us? And this is the most beautiful thing, Aleph Beis. Somebody who studies the inyan of the Oisios, it's something fascinating. And the difference between Vayokor and Vayikra is Aleph. Aleph. Vayokor is coincidence. Vayikra, you see Hashem calling you. What's Aleph? The Aleph is made of 3 oisias, says the holy oisias to Rabbi Akiva. There's a Vov in the middle, and a Yod on top, and a Yod below. So a Yod is 10 gematria, another Yod is 10 gematria, and a Vov is 6. Together is 26, Shem Havaya. Vayikra! He sees Hashem, the Aleph, the 26, the Shem Havaya calling to me. Beautiful word. This is the inyan that we learn, that the difference between the tzaddikim and the rishoim, this is Vayokor. They don't pay attention that the Ribono Shel Olam calling them. But they're Vayikra. He hears Hashem in every incident in life. He sees what is Hashem's message. And that's inyan, as we say, Aleph is made of Vov, Yud, 26. As well, Aleph, if you spell it out, totally the Aleph is Aleph Lamed Fei, right? So the gematria of Aleph Lamed Fei, 1, Lamed is 30, Fei is 80. Together is 111. 1, 1, 1. Echad, Yochid, Yuchod. Moshe Rabbeinu finished building the Mishkan and the Kelim of the Mishkan, the Holy Oroin, the menorah, the lechem aponim, the mizbeach, everything is now ready for Am Yisrael to bring korbanos. We're starting Sefer Vayikra. It says, Vayikra el Moshe, Vayidaber Hashem elov me'ol moed leimoir. Daber el bnei Yisrael, Vayomer aleim, Odom, ki yakriv mikem korban. If you want, and you want to bring a korban, then this is how you bring a korban. Min ha-behema, min ha-bokom, min ha-tzoin. Takrivu es korbanchem. Ask the father of the holy Reb Chaim Kanievsky, the Heilige Stipler, in the Sefer Birchas Peretz, asks, why is it a voluntary idea to bring korbanos? So many korbanos, I think most korbanos are voluntary. If you want to bring a korban, we built a Mishkan, we built a Mizbeach, and what does it say? And now if you want, it's all ready for you to bring. This is how you bring a korban. Why is it voluntary? Every korban, Hashem should tell us, this is when you bring a korban, this is how you bring a korban. And we find there are a few mitzvahs like that, like Nazirus. If a person wants to become a Nazir, then there are halachas how to be a Nazir. If you don't have to be a Nazir. And we say every morning as well in the Mishnah, it says, Eilu dvorim she'ein lahem shiur. There is no amount how much you have to do of this mitzvah. Hapeyo, bikurim, ugmilus chasodim, doing active kindness. You can do as much kindness. If one can cook a meal for someone, if one can host someone in your house. There's so many acts of kindness a person can do. All day you could be busy with gemilot chasodim. Why is there no share to these mitzvahs? And why are certain mitzvahs voluntary? Says the Holy Stipler, an idea of the inyan of a nefesh odom, an understanding of a person is as follows. That if Hashem were to command us, you have to bring a korban and when to bring a korban, if that's the idea of korbanos, then it won't bring a person close to Hashem. There is no escarvus, because you just say, Hashem told me to bring a korban. But Hashem wants you to feel a closeness to the Ribono Shel Olam. How does one come close to Hashem? You know how you come close to Hashem is by feeling, I want to bring a korban. By this feeling, a person says he wants to bring a korban. Why? I don't have to bring a korban, but I want to bring. Then this gives a scarvus to Hashem. Same to Gemilus Chasodim. Person, you don't have to do Gemilus Chasodim. It's enough just giving him a lift. Don't have to give him a supper. Don't have to invite him to your house. But why are you inviting him to your house? Because you want to. You want to help another Yid. This gives a hiskarvus to Hashem. These mitzvahs are special mitzvahs. These are mitzvahs that bring the person closer to Hashem because he's not commanded to do so, but he wants to do so. And therefore, this brings a person korban, a hiskarvus to the Ribono Shel Olam. There was a Yid, the Heilige Reb Simcha Cohen. He's a Rav who gives drosha seminar for Balei Tshuvas. And he once said over one of the seminars, he said over as follows, that there's this couple in Bnei Brak, he said, would you believe it, that they give 80% of the man's wages, he gives away to a certain family, where they have 8 children, and he gives 80% of his wages to them. He comes home with 20%. And his wife, early morning, she gets up, she goes to those children, and she gets them dressed, prepares them sandwiches, sends them off to school. And at night, she's there doing with them homework, bathing them, cleaning them, and putting them to bed. So somebody got up in the audience and said, Kvod Harav, I don't believe there's such a couple that exists. Not in Bnei Brak, not in the whole of Israel. Somebody gives 80% of his wages, and she's busy all day with the children. How does that possible? Such a Balei Chesed. Who are these people? I personally would like to meet them. Said the Heilige Reb Simcha Koyon, if I were to tell you the person's name and address, will you believe me? Said yes. He said, you know who they are? They are you and your wife. Do you not give 80% of wages to your children? Probably give even more. And your wife, does she not spend the morning and the evenings busy with the children? Even more. Just because it's your children doesn't mean that it's not a chesed. It doesn't mean you're not doing gemilot chasodim. You're the whole time busy with gemilot chasodim. This is the idea that Hashem gave us these mitzvahs of gemilot chasodim, especially now, Erev Pesach. We buy so much clothing and presents and food. We bring the most delicious food, the best clothing for our children. We have to always remember, we're not just buying, it's not just making a hole in our account. We are being gmilos chasodim. We're busy the whole time looking after our children, looking after our family, giving them the best. And that's a mitzvah of gmilos chasodim. We don't have to. We don't have to do any gmilos. Ein lehem shiur. There is no shiur to gmilos chasodim. But a person is zoicha to realize that he's doing a mitzvah, he's doing gemilas chasod. The more you realize, the more you'll appreciate what you're doing. You're not just looking at these days, Erev Pesach, as all those bills and all this, and the visa, and the money's going so fast. You realize you're looking after people, you're looking after your family, and by doing ein lehem shiur, like the korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash, you didn't have to bring a korban, but you brought because you wanted to bring a korban. So we will be zoicha, bezvus Hashem Yisparach mekabel the heilige Yom Tov, besimcha, betuv leivov, bezvus Hashem Yisparach. Thank you very much for listening. Have you ever started a book that says, and he said, and he said, and he came? We just started the Sefer Vayikra, and the first word is Vayikra el Moshe, and he called to Moshe. That's how you start a Sefer. And if you pay attention, almost all the Sforim are like Ve'ele Shmois B'nei Yisrael, Shmois. Ve'ele Advorim. Always start and. Vov HaChibur. Says the Holy Rabbi Avigdor Miller, Zecher Tzadik Avrohom, always used to say, because no one story goes by itself. It's always a continuation and a sequence of events. And therefore, we needed to have Avrohom Avinu, to have a Yitzchok, to have a Yaakov, to have Yud Beis Shvotim, the Mitzrayim to come out, and Moshe Rabbeinu, build the Mishkan, and we can now bring Korbanos. It's all a continuation. And it's all got a Seder Dvorim, to be, everything has a plan, the Ribono Shel Olam, the Vov. And almost every Posuk is Vov. All the Vov HaChibur a person sees, and a person can see as well in his life. So many Vovs. If we pay attention, we listen carefully, we realize how there was a sequence of events. The Heilige Mashkiach of Ponovitch, who was called Reb Chaim Friedlander, he used to say that music is not only one tone. It's made of a number of tones. Do, re, mi, fa, si, right? You don't make a song from one tone. But it's a few notes together. You have a high note, a low note, a high note, and together, according to a certain sequence, a certain order, then you have a beautiful niggun, a beautiful tune. The same too, he says, is life. Hashem, there's high notes, there's times that we have simcha, and times Hashem rachum of pain and tsar. And we don't understand, it looks always a contradiction. Why do I have to go through this and these parashos and this inyonim? But if we realize it's always Seder Advorim, the Ribono Shel Olam, there's a Vov, which brings to the next Vov, which brings to the next Vov. We bring it all together, you realize, wow, this was a Maisa Hashem. This was a beautiful nigun, how we can see a Maisa of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is a Posuk in Mishlei that says, it says as follows, Oizen Sheimas, Va'ayin Roya, Hashem Oso Gam Shneihem. Ask the Minchas Shimon, a Rav from Chibin, asks as follows, Oizen Sheimas, Va'ayin Roya, of course Hashem Oso Gam Shneihem. Why does Shlomo Melech say, the Heilige Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei Parsha Chof, says, Oizen Sheimas, V'ayin Roya, Hashem Oso Gam Shneihem. What's the inyan? Says sometimes we see the ness. Person can see the ness. Yetzias Mitzrayim, we were able to see her. Eser Makas, Dam, Tzvadeya, Kinim, you saw. No, Tzvadeya, I just saw in the Medrash, not just one frog, a few frogs. 23,000 frogs to each Mitzri. That was the ratio. Amazing. There was a Nissim Gedolim Oid, Ayin Roya. But sometimes it's Oizen Sheimas. Sometimes you don't see a nest, you don't see the miracle. But if you listen carefully and you put together all the Vovim, all the links of the chain, all the pieces together of the puzzle, then you realize there was a greatness. Oizen Shema, listen carefully, like we just had on Purim. If you listen from Vayibi Me'ach HaShveirosh till the end of the Megillah, you don't see a nest, but Oizen Shemas, your ear can listen carefully and you'll hear a nest took place. And you'll understand and appreciate there was a nest from the beginning until the end. That's a Vov. Vov in our lives we're able to know. Vayikra, Antikot, all a continuation. Every part in our life is all a continuation in Mamshich. And like Friedlander says, to bring a beautiful nigun, you need the high parts, the low parts. But it's all a feed the Seder of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ribono Shel Olam. There's a beautiful story of Matthew Gold, a man in America, New York. And he was a very busy businessman. But one day, Tuesday morning, he would always have breakfast with his mother. His mother was in the old age home in New York, one of the Chusheva old age homes in New York. And he would come every Tuesday to have breakfast with his mother. And she prepared, like a Yiddish mama, prepared breakfast for her son. And the rest of the week he would travel on business, meetings, trips, but Tuesday morning, by his mother. One day he gets a phone call, Mr. Gold, I'm very sorry to tell you, but your mother was nifta in her sleep last night. Please arrange for the funeral. So he calls his Rav, and the Rav says, look, I will send one of my Talmidim to the old age home to pick up your mother. Meanwhile, you have to go and prepare to buy a burial plot, something. So he said, Kvod Rav, for my mother, I want to have the most chusheva Beis HaKvoros of New York, where all the Rabbonim of New York are buried. I want to have the most inspirational speaker to come to make a Kiddush Hashem Leilu Nishmas my mother. And the Rav gave him the number for the Chevre Kedisha of this Beis HaKvoros. He gave him a number of this Baal Darshan who will speak and inspire the Tzibur. He even gave him a number of a minion of Yidden that comes every Shachris to learn Mishnayos by the Beis HaOvel Hashem Rachum Le'aleinu. And that's what happened. It was the most respected Levaya, inspirational Levaya. And 2 days later, he's sitting at home, the minion of Yidden are learning Mishnayos, and his mobile rings. He picks it up, says, Mom? Say, where are you? It's Tuesday morning. Says, Mom? Where I am? You're not going to want to know where I am. I'm coming. He jumps in the car and he thinks to himself, Ribono shel olam, who did I bury? Who did I bury? And he drives fast to the old age home. He goes to his mother's room and he sees her there, sitting there like every Tuesday morning for breakfast. So he said, just a minute, I'm going to the administration office. Come to administration, he says, tell me, what's going on? You think this is a joke? He told me a few days my mother was nifta and now she's here, she's Baruch Hashem alive and healthy and well. He says, let's inquire what happened. What happened was that night nurse came into the room and she saw the lady was nifta, the roommate of his mother. And the tag, instead of the tag of his mother being on his mother's bed, it was placed on that woman's bed. So this nurse came, took the details, Mrs. Gold, the number, social security number, identity number, address, date of birth, wrote it all down, filled up the form. The Talmud of the Rav came, picked her up, and that's how Hadvarim et Galgulu, that's what happened. So he came back to the room of his mother, and he said, Mom, who was this lady who was nifta a few days ago? She says, she had such a terrible life, a bitter life. She had only one daughter, married to a goy. I said, did she ever come to visit? She says, Baruch Hashem, not a lot. Because every time she came, she caused so much pain to her mother. She says, why? Her mother always used to ask her, please, after Mameh Ve'esrim, who will look after my soul if not for you? Give me a Jewish burial. Look after my neshama. And she would always laugh and say, you need a Jewish burial. We're now in America. We're not anymore in Poland. What's good for the Americans is good enough for us. And she never respected her mother's wishes. And the mother would say, please arrange something Kaddish for my neshama. And the daughter never wanted to respect her mother's wishes. And even when she was nifta, this lady, the last words were, Ribono shel olam, kvura Yehudit, a Jewish burial. He realized, Morabu ma'asecho Hashem. The Ribono shel olam, did he not worry for her? Did the Ribono shel olam not arrange the most respected funeral with inspirational speakers, with a million of Yidden who are learning Mishnayos? This is the Inyan you hear. If you listen to all the details, all the Vovim, you realize a nest took place. Oizen Shemas. We can as well listen in our own lives, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu planned each detail, where we thought we should do this, we should work here, we should do Azoi. And in the end, the Ribono shel olam's plan was the most beautiful plan, the most beautiful niggun, like Rabbi Friedlander says. May we be zoicha, mischazik emunah. On these days between Ayin Roya, Voizen Shemas, between Purim and Pesach, to know that there's a munah of Nissim, open Nissim like Pesach, and there's those hidden Nissim, but if we listen carefully, we'll be able to appreciate the Nissim. Yad Hashem is with us the whole time. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful day.